All right. Thank you, Armando. And thank you, Lisandra, for that wonderful presentation. So I've been a proud member of Somos El Poder. I've been a proud member of this board since, I think, December 2020. And I remember the day that Armando called and asked me to be on this board. And I said yes right away. And you said, are you sure you don't want to think about it? And I don't know why you said that, because what I really appreciate about Armando is that he understands the power of prospect research. Not everybody fully understands that, but my day job is at Santa Clara University. And I can tell you for a fact that SCU fully understands the power of prospect research, because I am one of 8 people that do this job at SCU. So what is this thing? What is prospect research? Well, the way that I like to think about it is that it is the foundation of fundraising. You think about like a structure having a foundation. Prospect research is the foundation to scale up your fundraising program. Basically what it is, it's a process by which you gather information about your donors or your potential donors to inform your fundraising strategies for individuals and for your database as a whole. What we're basically trying to do is, so basically I'm going to give you like prospect research in 4 minutes, right? And then I do teach a class on prospect research for Somos El Poder. So if you become a member, of course, you'll get to take the class that I so lovingly teach. So basically prospect research, as I mentioned, is how we try to understand donors or potential donors. We're trying to answer 2 questions, basically. Number 1, which of your donors or prospective donors have the capacity to really increase your fundraising? So capacity, how do we understand that? We understand that by studying wealth indicators. For most people, that's going to be their home, right? But also another thing that we could easily access is salary. We could get an estimate of a salary, or in some rare cases, we could actually find the exact salary somebody is making in a given year. There may be other indicators as well. Somebody may have a family foundation, stocks, etc. Those things tend to be a little bit more rare. For most people, it's the property you own and your salary. So we're basically trying to understand wealth, and then we turn that into capacity, which typically, in a lot of cases, is like 5% of what we can confirm. So we're trying to understand that capacity. The other thing that we also want to understand, capacity does not equal giving. Somebody could have a ton of capacity. They could have a home in Atherton. They could have millions of dollars in stock, but they don't give that much. Yeah. Capacity and giving are 2 different things. So we also want to understand, do they give? And how can we understand that? One of the things I like to use, and it's free for everybody, is LinkedIn. How many have a LinkedIn account here? Okay, the vast majority, hopefully everybody's hands. LinkedIn is such a great tool because it's amazing what people share on LinkedIn. It's become more than just like an online resume. People share like the things that they're passionate about. Yep. They will post stories about that. And they will also post what they volunteer for. Like for example, they serve on a board. One of the things I'd like to do, it's a free thing you could do. You could look at a profile. They serve on a board. The next question is, great, we know they volunteer. We know that they know something about serving on a board. Do they give to that organization? So go to that organization's website. Hopefully they share their annual report. That's becoming a little more rare. But in some cases, some organizations publish their annual report. Look it up. Do they give? How much do they give? And that gives you an idea of what they understand philanthropy to be and what they could potentially give to your organization if they fall in love with your organization. See, I'm using the love metaphor again. I don't know why. Maybe it's the color of my shirt.
You guys are weird.
I know we're far from Valentine's Day, but
Very far.
This is the season's wedding.
Okay.
So main thing we would like to focus on here in Somos is individual giving. We're not discounting foundation giving at all, but why do we focus on individual giving? Well, if we think about foundation giving, not surprisingly, it's more competitive right now because need I say anything about government funding? That's dried up. So obviously foundation giving, more competitive, does involve a lot of work, a lot of paperwork, et cetera, et cetera. Whereas if you cultivate a major giving relationship with somebody, you get a major gift donor, they can not only perhaps give you the level that a grant would give you, but they could also sustain your organization over time.
I got a great example when you're done.
Okay.
When you're done.
Okay. And that may turn into other things as well. Even somebody that might give what you would consider to be an annual gift, but is a loyal donor, over time might be able to give you a planned gift, something that might be a legacy gift, a deed of property, et cetera, et cetera.
Estate.
Yeah, estate gifts, legacy giving is what we like to call it. Basically, where do you start? How do you start understanding this? There are a lot of paid tools out there, a lot of which I use, but there are plenty of free tools that you can use as well. I mentioned LinkedIn is one way that you could start. If you have a donor base or if you have a membership base, start to evaluate them if you have information about them. If you have addresses, what are the values of those addresses? If you have some time, if you have an intern, can you understand about what they make? Are they involved in things like affinity groups or employee resource groups? Do they have signs of volunteering, et cetera? Your board, of course, is another way. So again, who are board members here?
1, 2.
Does your board have a give or get?
I've got to work on that.
Yeah, that's something you definitely need to work on. And again, I know you talked earlier about the trepidation sometimes with fundraising, but as you think about your board, not only should you think about like the certain types of expertise they could bring in, think about how they might help you in fundraising. Maybe they don't want to do asks, but can they open up their network, for example? Those are potential prospects for your organization. And I think I'm going to leave it there. Again, I teach classes on this. We're all part of Somos. We would love to help you. And thank you very much.